try that right now. Left foot on the brake, floor it, launch control, and then there we go. Yeah, 60 like that. I mean, this thing gets up, and that was fun. Welcome to Drive Culture. I'm Jonathan Rivers, and today we have the 2025 Audi S3. And I'm going to tell you why this is one of the best European sport compacts on the market today. So we'll go over the exterior, the interior, the powertrain, and of course, take it for a drive. So if this is content you're after or you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. And with that, let's get after it. Now, the Audi S3 is just had a mid-cycle refresh for 2025. It had a full redesign a few years ago, going back to 2022. And at that time, they updated the powertrain, the platform, the interior, the infotainment, pretty much covered everything. And here at this minor model change, they made a nice few changes as well. But today we're focusing on not just that A3, but the S3 high performance version. And it definitely offers some performance and even enhancements over the previous S3. So before we get into the design, let's talk about pricing. Now, this particular car here has several option packages. That's how Audi does it, right? So essentially, you have a base MSRP of $48,700. So this car, amazingly, with standard torque vectoring all-wheel drive, is sub $50,000. However, like I said, this particular car here has several packages, right? The Premium Plus package, the Black Optic package, the S Sport package, you name it, the tech package. We're going to go over all those details here. But once you tally all those up, this car is $56,340 before, any kind of destination and handling. Now in that MSRP, it does include the premium paint, which is called Mythos Black Metallic. And it's actually a really, really nice black. There's just enough pearlescent in it, and it definitely pops under the sun here. So all in, like I said, you're still under $57,000 for a lot of performance, features, and design. So next, let's go ahead and do a full exterior walk around of this 2025 Audi S3. All right, guys, here we are with the exterior design of the 2025 Audi S3. And like I was just explaining, this car here has several packages added on to what is the standard Audi S3. Now, one of those, and that kind of stands out, especially from a design perspective, is what they call the Black Optic package. So that gives you lots of design elements in black. This makes look, everything a little bit more sporty. And, honestly, they really kind of changed up the style and design of this S3. Like I said, this is a mid-cycle refresh, but even beyond that, just how Audi's approach to like S3 design language, the badging and things like that, all of that's kind of been changed recently. So let's kind of get into that and talk about some of those details. So up first, let's just talk about the styling, right? So there's these really strong character lines there on the hood, gives us some distinction, makes us stand out. Audi has some of the best lighting in the business, right? They've been known for their LED lighting, and here it's called a Matrix LED headlight. So you can see it looks really fancy and it looks really cool at night. Kind of has this like startup sequence that's really, really cool. As we get down to the front fascia here, so this was one of the big like design changes, right? And essentially what they did is really opened up that front grille while still maintaining that kind of black bar that goes across. Now, if we get up close, you'll also notice there's a special option here that turns the Audi rings into this like anthracite color. So that's really cool. Instead of like going with the bright chrome, kind of mixing it up, giving this new like color material for the front end. And you can even notice it down here in the grille. So they're like, yeah, sure, some of it is like this kind of plastic, but they've got these gloss black accents really throughout, and it just kind of pops when you get close. Doesn't like stand out too much. I think it looks pretty good. This car does have 4 parking sensors up front and a lot of functional openings and cooling. I mean, you can literally see through the grille. I mean, you can see the radiator sticking down, You can see the intercooler and everything. So I mean, it's definitely exposed and definitely functional as well. You do even have these openings here, and you can see these smaller radiators down there as well. So lots of functional opening and cooling up front. So next, let's go ahead. We'll kind of take in the whole side profile of this thing so you guys can see. Now, you remember in the US, you can only get the A3 and S3 in this, and RS3. We'll talk about that in a sec. But you can only get these cars in this three-box sedan body style. If you were to look online, you might see pictures of like a wagon. Well, that's exclusively for Europe and other markets. So let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Would you like to see the wagon here in the States? Would you actually buy it? I know a lot of people ask for it, and and then they wouldn't actually put their money where their mouth is. So let us know if you would go with sedan or that kind of cool wagon body design. But I think this has a really, really nice profile, really clean. There's not a lot of detailing. There's just really one sharp character line that follows the belt line of the car. But this car does have the additional kind of sport package, which helps to lower down the car, gives it active dampers, which allows some adjustability given the drive modes. We'll talk about that. And it also gives you things like these awesome red brake calipers, right, that say S there. So these are drilled rotors, pretty large in size. And, again, this has this upgraded wheel package here. So these are 19-inch wheels. They're like 20 spokes, if that's what you want to call it. So they start off as this like kind of dark black, then they're machine finish. And a nice little touch is it even says RS under the valve stem there. So that's a nice little touch. These are summer tires. They're Goodyears. They're 235 35R19, and it's a square setup. So pretty aggressive wheel and tire package here for the S3. You do get things like power folding mirrors with LED turn signals, black treatment all along the window. But one of the things that I want to call out here, just going to get up close and see how well you can see it, is on the B pillar here, it says Audi. And then if you get really close, it says S3 TSFI Quattro for the powertrain. But literally, that's the S3 badge now. Like, there's no badge here, like at the front. There was no badge in the front grille. So that's what I mean by Audi's kind of taking a different approach to the styling of their kind of sport trims and models. So in the rear, you get the same wheel and tire package. You get red painted calipers, but they're smaller, as are the discs, which are not cross-drilled in the rear. So next, let's go ahead and take a look at the rear of the vehicle. So I think this looks really good for the S3. So very, very kind of aggressive once you get to the rear here. So first and foremost, you'll notice it has this like kind of cool deck lid spoiler up here. I mean, it already has its own kind of like ducktail built into the top of the trunk lid, but you get this extra little spoiler that kind of carries across. So very subtle, right? You're nothing overly aggressive in its design or intent, but you still get these kind of awesome LED tail lights, which are actually sequential turn lights as well. Audi's really big on that. If you look, you can also see the S3 in black, the badge with the red logo there. That anthracite kind of Audi logo looks really cool. So not a lot of badges, really, really clean. You do get 4 parking sensors here in the rear, and down below you get that really aggressive diffuser. And not only do you get that really aggressive diffuser, I mean, there's kind of like some plastic, treatment above it, but it looks functional below. But man, you get those awesome quad exhausts on the S3. And the cool thing is, not only are they quad finishers, but they're like in this like dark chrome finish as well. So I think that looks really, really premium. So again, I think, the S3 looks really good as a sedan. Clearly us here in the US love sedans more than the hatchbacks, but from what I've seen on the pictures, I like the hatchback body style as well. So I think if it was offered here, I might give it a look. But I think we've covered all of the exterior details of this Audi S3. So next, let's go ahead and hop inside to talk about the interior. All right, guys, here we are inside this 2025 Audi S3, and it is a really nice place to be. There is a lot of things to talk about, so we're going to try to cover everything here on the interior. So first and foremost, let's just talk about the design. Like I mentioned, while this is a mid-cycle refresh, there's obviously some small change points or updates. But going back a few years ago, when they went to this new cockpit style design for the interior, I think this is a big improvement over the previous generation Audi S3. Sure, that had the kind of the little pop-up center display and some other cool features, but this one just looks and feels, I think, a lot more futuristic and a lot more premium as well. So if you're Audi fans out there, let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. But that's what I get as a kind of first impression here. So let's talk about the steering wheel. It's a great shape and size, like the perfect size diameter. It's leather material. There's perforations here on the side, high contrast stitching. Even has a nice little S logo down here. Of course, the Audi rings here in the center. Over here you have controls to kind of cycle through the gauge cluster. We'll talk about that in a second. And over on this side, you get like your phone functions and volume and things like that. There's a paddle shifter set up here, minus on the left, plus on the right. We'll talk about how that is in the drive. But overall, it's a really nice steering wheel. One of the things too is, like, you do have a lot of stalks. That's kind of a German thing, so you've got turn signals, stock, window, windshield wiper stock, but you also get an extra stock down here on the left, which is for your cruise control. So, some other brands put those controls or functions right here on the front. In this case, you have the extra lever. I'm sure you get used to it if you own it. Also, off to the left here, you get like some light controls and your fog lights and things like that. But really, center stage is the Audi virtual cockpit. So this one has the extra tech package that gives you the 12.3-inch virtual cockpit. Looks awesome, high res, really good graphics. We'll show you what that looks like, but it's really customizable and it kind of changes its layout and configuration given the drive mode that you're in. Then off here in the center, you get a 10.1-inch color touchscreen with things like wireless, Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto compatibility. So all your connectivity that you could imagine, really high-res screen here in the center as well. As you get down below that here, you basically have kind of really like physical controls, which is nice. So buttons to change your HVAC, all your climate settings. You do get settings for the heated seats. We'll talk about that here in a second. They are three-stage heated seats, which is nice. And then down below further, as we get into the center console, this is where you're going to find buttons like your drive mode select, your idle stop kill switch, your ability to do full 3D parking surround, and some of those controls as well. And then in this pocket here, you get two USB-C charge ports, as well as a wireless charge pad that's kind of like angled off. So we'll show you how that works, and looks like it should be able to fit most modern smartphones. As you get here in the center though, a little bit of piano black trim. Got your nice start stop engine button here, which has got a red ring to it. So that looks really premium. And then you have this kind of like circular dial for changing tracks in your music or adjusting the volume. And then here in the center, predominantly, you have essentially your gear selector. But it's, at first glance, you're going to be like, okay, and I'm sure you'll get used to it. But you have a separate button for park, and then this kind of like switch that pushes you back and forward to go into reverse and drive in sport mode and things like that. And then lastly, you get here in the center, you have a electronic parking brake, 12-volt socket, kind of standard cup holders here, decent size. Open this up, you got a little bit of space in the center armrest, standard glove box. But again, one of the things about this being an Audi is, like I said, all the premium like kind of touch points. The build quality is impeccable. All the materials are really high quality. Generally soft touch surfaces wherever you look. Contrast stitching, this kind of like faux carbon material here that says Quattro, which is really nice. And then one of the things, like, guys, me, I love music. So interestingly enough, like Audi had previously been using Bang& Olufsen as their premium sound system. Well, now here on this 2025 S3, you actually get a Sonos premium sound system, and it's no joke. I mean, it's 15 speakers, 680 watts of power, so it's a ton of power. The speaker grills up here look really nice. You get some Sonos logo badging down there below. So we're gonna crank it up. I'm really excited to hear how it sounds, but at first listen, it sounded really, really good. All your door controls, are solid buttons, really, really, kind of good tactile feeling to them. And again, just a lot of like detailing here on the door. It kind of feels like a nice suede material here. But really, the thing is with the S, versus just the standard Audi A3 are these seats. So the seats are really, really nice. Both have tons of power adjustability. You do get manual lumbar support. That's kind of a thing. They don't really do a power, but hey, at least it's comes out if you want that extra support for your legs. But man, these seats look awesome and they feel great too. So it's a nice leather material. Has the S badging here. Carries down further. You get this diamond quilted stitching, contrast stitching throughout. They're very, very nicely bolstered. And like I said, I mean, everything can be adjusted. So really, really good seats. Lastly, what we'll talk about here is you got some nice controls up top, and then Audi offers what they call a panoramic sunroof. So you have this like shade, which when it's closed, it's like partially see-through, so you will still get a little bit of light, especially in a bright sunny day. But it opens up, and look, it's not a full panoramic, sunroof. Like it really doesn't go to the back second row, but up front, it does have a pretty large piece of glass. So I think we've covered just about every interior detail here up front. So next, let's go ahead and hop in the rear. All right, here we are in the rear of this Audi S3. So let's talk about space for, first and foremost. So, from the outside, it looks like a pretty compact car. I mean, it is a compact sedan, but yeah, there's pretty good space back here. I'm about 5'10", I always say that. This is my actual driver position. So, yeah, I've got, a few inches of knee room here. There's some cutouts in the seat too that help. Easily can get my feet underneath the seat. Pretty good headroom. I mean, honestly, if you're going to be, over 6 feet, if you're like 6'2", 6'3", it's going to be a little bit tight back here. But for me, I think there's just enough space. There's some good detailing on the doors, materials. You get that Sonos audio badging back here as well. Again, as far as the rest of the seating, you have a pretty big hump in the floor here. So, really, I mean, it is a 5-passenger vehicle, but it would be really tight. I mean, if you had a small kid back here, that could probably work. Going this direction, though, there's good space. It is easy to access the latches for the child seats. We don't have one with us today. You get these kind of nets on the back of the seats for the mat pockets. There's actual vents back here and a little dial that kind of goes, red or blue, depending if you want to like change the temperature for your controls. But that's all the controls you have. Down below, you do get two more USB-C charge ports. So, combine that with the two up front and the wireless charge pad. I mean, you can literally charge 5 devices in this small compact sedan. So I think that's pretty good. The seats in the rear, though, are really nice. They didn't cheap out. You still get diamond, quilted stitching, contrast stitching back here. If I pull down this center armrest, it exposes, kind of, two cup holders back here on top. It's a nice material, leather material as well. So, really, again, it's a nice place to be. You're looking right ahead at these like fixed headrest sports seats in front, which is really cool. But yeah, like I said, I wonder if that hatchback body style was available, how much that might affect the packaging. So that might be better if you really needed the extra space and utility. But with that, next, let's go ahead and talk about the cargo space. All right, next, let's go ahead and talk about the cargo space of this Audi S3 sedan. So, of course, there's a button inside to pop the trunk. There's a nice little pull here. But on the key fob, which is actually really nice, by the way, even has a nice S logo on the back, there's a button that you push twice to pop open the trunk. And you can see it's spring-loaded operation, which is really nice. It's not full power or anything like that. Not that you need it for a car like this, but inside, it's really premium materials, carpeting throughout. There's actually 8.3 cubic feet of space back here. So not a ton, right? Not a ton, but at least it's a good wide opening. You can easily, fit a couple of good sized suitcases back here. If I lift up the floor, there's really not much space back here. In fact, what's hidden down below is actually the battery for the vehicle. So there's really no underfloor storage or any extra capacity. So the 8.3 cubic feet is really all you got to work with. Like I said, this is a small sport compact sedan. So next, let's go ahead and talk about this awesome powertrain. All right, next, let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain of the 2025 Audi S3. So the moment you open up the hood, you can see it has a really clean and modern engine bay design. Has this really nice engine cover here in black with the Audi rings, some nice red accents back here. You got the huge intake manifold. So you know that it means business. And part of the reason why is it has Audi's TSFI 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. And in this model year, it makes 328 horsepower and 295 foot-pounds of torque exclusively with Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system. Now, the big talking point, and we'll tell you how it feels and works during the drive, is the fact that that all-wheel drive system is now true torque vectoring. That's right, there's an update to the Haldex differential that allows the torque to be sent to the rear and then split between each tire as well. So really big improvement there. It's made it to an automatic transmission. Again, this is how it comes. There's no manual transmission available. So there's no better way than to prove that out than to get behind the wheel. So next, let's go ahead and take this thing for a drive.
All right, guys, here we are inside the 2025 Audi S3, and we're gonna go ahead and take this thing for a drive. So go ahead and put on my seatbelt here, foot on the brake, hit this red start engine stop button. Turns right on. Has a nice growl to it. Sounds really good. As I showed you guys in the interior as well, you know, it has some really high resolution screens. The 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster up front, this screen here in the center, everything looks really premium inside. So, you know, I don't always drive Audis, if you guys have seen on the channel. So this is actually the first one that we brought here to Drive Culture. So let us know if you guys want to see more Audis or more high performance Audis here on the channel. We're happy to bring it. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and take off. And like I mentioned, the gear selector for this automatic transmission is kind of interesting. You kind of pull back, pretty easy though, and it goes into D and what they call auto. So as always, we'll go ahead and set out and talk about the drive mode and things like that. So one of the things I will actually turn off is the idle stop. So I don't want that to happen, but we can test it out while we drive just to see you know, how it behaves. But here we are, gonna head out, get out to a pretty good driving road. And man, what I can tell you in just like 2 seconds of driving, right? Like the car has, like I said, about the interior, just really good build quality. Everything feels rock solid here. I'm going over some pretty epic speed bumps too. Everything feels really solid. So I'm gonna go ahead and set off. Honestly, again, I you know, for me, I think this is the right size. I know they have the larger A4s, A5s, the other sedans, but for me, this is a really good sized vehicle. Visibility is excellent from pretty much every part as well. Yeah, not a whole lot to complain about so far. I mean, again, it's really premium. So I'm gonna go ahead and set out here. So right now I'm in the auto drive mode. So there's a little drive select button here. If you know, basically push it down, it brings up this menu and it lets you kind of cycle through. So there's comfort, there's auto, there's dynamic, and there's individual. So there's several different drive modes that you can just kind of like work your way through, and each one kind of changes the throttle response, the steering, and even the suspension, given that it has that special package there for that. So it'll be curious to see how that really changes with each of the drive modes. So I'm in the comfort drive mode now. So we'll just kind of see what this feels like, get an idea for it. So yeah, comfort's really nice. It's interesting, the moment you kind of get into boost, you kind of hear the induction noise and a little bit of the turbo whistle. So even though you're in comfort mode, it still lets you know that this is an S3 and has a little bit of performance here. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. Go ahead, and won't get into it too much, but all right, already there's some pretty good G feeling there. You know, I think that's how Audi like tunes their cars, right? They give you a lot of G up front, and then it kind of settles in. It's like almost like the boost just like hits you really hard from a low RPM. But yeah, comfort feels really good. I'm at miles an hour. Steering is actually pretty well weighted. It's on center. It's really good. It's got a little bit of play to it, but again, this is comfort mode. This would be the great driver setting, especially like if you're in a parking lot or something like that. So overall, really good MVH, very, very quiet. It's super windy today where I'm at, so yeah, I'm probably getting excess wind noise that I don't think you would normally hear, but for the most part, MVH is really good, and the ride quality is really good too. So I mean, I'm guessing that has to do with that adaptive suspension, right? Being able to soften up a little bit given the drive mode you're in. So now I'll go ahead and change the dynamic mode. So they have what they call auto. So auto essentially tries its best to figure out what you want, right? So if you want to kind of, you know, just behave yourself, it'll drive more like it's in comfort mode. If you really want to get into it, it gets more like the dynamic mode. And then obviously, like I said before, there's the individual mode that lets you kind of piecemeal things through. So what we'll do is we'll also now go into dynamic mode. That really changes things up. So we'll go ahead, it says S in the transmission. So it gives you kind of the sporty kind of transmission setting, dynamic setting. It lets you play with the paddle shifters. But what's cool is actually not only is there a dynamic mode, but if I go ahead and push again, there's a dynamic plus mode. And this apparently is where launch control is. So we're gonna go ahead and try that right now. Left foot on the brake, floor it, launch control, and then there we go. Yeah, 60 like that. I mean, this thing gets up, and that was fun. Like it kind of, like I said, there was a little bit of a pause, and then all of a sudden it just lurched forward, and I blew the doors off the car next to me. So the S3 is quick, guys. Like I said, it's quick, but it's a different sense of speed. Like the car is so refined and has really good MVH. It's very premium that it's not this like raw sense of speed. You just like kind of pause, the torque vectoring, you know, set all the power, and then it just took off, right? So it really, really is like dynamic, but refined. And I think that's a good thing, actually. Again, for someone that's buying this type of product, that's probably the drive experience they're looking for, right? So the thing about this car now, especially that they added that Haldex new rear differential that allows the torque split. Essentially, this car really sits in now between the Volkswagen Golf R and the more high-performance Audi RS3. Now, that thing's a total beast, right? It's that 5-cylinder, has that crazy sound, almost sounds like a V10. That's a whole nother level of performance, but this kind of sits nicely below that, and yet a step above the Golf R, given the premium features, design, and just the overall Audi feel that you get over the Volkswagen. But here we are, we're gonna come up to some pretty fun driving roads. I'm gonna try out the paddle shifters, right? So essentially, now I pulled one of the paddle shifters and a little M pops up in the digital instrument cluster. That essentially lets you know that you're in a manual driving mode. So I'm in 4th gear now, click. I mean, this transmission's fast, guys, for shifting gears. So here we go, I'm gonna go ahead and so I actually wanted to try that out. That was pretty cool. The car will actually let you redline and bang off the limiter. That's a lot of fun, right? So clearly they have a different ethos than some of the other manufacturers that won't let that happen, right? And oof, listen to that. That's actually, you get a little bit of a growl like off a overrun. It's really nice. So here we are again in 3rd gear. Just give it another pull. I'm gonna switch this time on red light. Oh man, that transmission is super good. It is fast, lightning fast. Basically, kind of feels like that PDK. And if you guys don't believe me, go ahead and watch some of the videos we've done of some Porsches with the PDK here on Drive Culture. So I've got the experience. I tell you, this feels really close to that. I mean, this thing is lightning fast. So obviously, I mean, the transmission is lightning fast, but the car is actually really fast too. I can't even tell you what kind of speed I'm traveling here, but I mean, honestly, it's like I said, it's a very serene, you know, sense of speed and experience. It's not necessarily raw, which again, like I said, that's not something to complain about here. So I'm gonna slow down a little bit here, get 3rd gear, do a blast from 2nd. Here we go. Really good sound. You even get a little bit of that, you know, kind of backfire from the exhaust, but again, it's muted, right? The car is really quiet, but you can hear it. You can definitely hear it popping off as you're changing gears. But man, this car dynamically is really good. party. So there's a little bit of play in the steering, but then once you hit it, it like darts over to the next, next lane if that's what you're after. So, but as I'm kind of blasting through these canyons, like it's hard to tell, but I definitely feel like the rear diff, that torque vectoring diff, is working. It seems to definitely, like, as you're turning in and you actually get into the throttle, that's where I start to feel a little bit of that rotation, and just kind of, you can feel that it's pushing power to an outboard wheel to help you turn in. So like even here as I'm kind of coming through, I can feel it working. So yeah, dynamically this thing's really good, and like I said, it's fast. It's fast. The brakes really good too. So you got confident, fade-free stopping, and that little burble from the back, and the ability to just take off like this. And when you do click, it kind of gives you this, like, almost like punch in the gut that it's shifting gears. It's a really good feeling, guys. I really like it. It's fun to drive. It's refined. I mean, as I'm looking at the gauges, everything is high res, in your face. CarPlay works great. It's seamless. So, I mean, I think this is a really, really awesome daily driver, but with really high levels of performance. I'm not sure how it would do on a track. I'm sure it actually would probably be pretty fast, but I mean, that's not what you're after with this car. It's really for something like this, like blasting through your favorite back roads or canyons. So I think this is a really great car. Let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Let us know if you want to see more Audi products or more, hot European compacts. We're happy to bring it to you. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this drive review.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. What did you think of the 2025 Audi S3? Is it the best European sport compact on the market today? Between its all-wheel drive system, that new torque splitting differential, this high performance turbocharged engine with 328 horsepower, and that sub $50,000 MSRP starting point. Let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Are you going with the Mercedes AMG CLA35? Or are you going with the BMW M240i? Let us know if Audi reigns supreme, and let us know if you want to see more content like this here on the channel. So if you've joined us before, thank you so much. But if you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. Thanks, and we'll see you at the next episode.